All right, so we have this UI, but I don't know. It kind of looks old school to me, a little old-fashioned. I don't really like it. So let's change it up a little bit. First thing I want to do is go back up here to text, and I want to get rid of this input and this input because there's a much better looking input that we can use these days. So if you go to text, down at the bottom, text input layout, now I'm going to have to hit the little download button to use it. This is part of the Android X platform. So we say yes, go ahead and download it. And it just, there you go, super fast. And now I can use it. It's that simple. So let's go and drag it and drop it up here. So we have a text input, and I'm going to tie it, before I do anything, go ahead and set my constraints. I'm going to tie it to the top, but let's put a little gap there. I think it's too much. There we go, 24. And so this is a text input, a whole lot like what you've already seen. But the interesting thing to note about it is it's actually two. So if I come over here into the layout, you'll see it's two controls. And that's the one thing you got to be careful about when you use this. The text input layout, it's better than plain text. It looks nicer, and you'll see that here in a minute. But you just got to be careful to make sure you got the right, which thing do you want? Do you want the container, or do you want the actual text part? And what I mean by that, actually the easiest way is to show you. So without changing anything else, I'll go ahead and hit run. And my UI is probably going to be completely broken. Yeah, it is. Okay, hold on. Let's fix our UI first. I'm sorry, I didn't even think about that. So let's go ahead and tie our radio group to here. And our button, we'll tie the button to the top of the radio group, that way that doesn't happen again. Okay. So now let's go ahead and run. So this is just a much better looking control. You can see it says hint, and when I click in here, it makes a hint, just puts it out of the way. So on the old one, you could put hint text, but once you put data in there, your hint text is gone. But on this new one, it just kind of puts it at the top, and it's there. So it's pretty nice. I think it looks good. And you see our UI still needs some work, but that's okay. So I like this one, so we'll use this one. But it shouldn't say hint. All right, I want it to say enter amount, so I'll come over here, and we'll select the label we've already defined, label enter amount. That is our hint text. So far, so good. Okay, so rather than fix the alignment on this, I don't like the radio button. Let's just get rid of it. Instead, we can go over to widgets, and there's all kinds of interesting things over here. I'm certainly not going to cover most of them. You're able to go out and Google and look around and learn them yourselves. Part of what you need to learn in this class is how to go learn more stuff. So, but I'll talk about a couple of them. In rating bar, this is kind of cool, and it works out well for a tip calculator. Let's get this out of the way just for a second. So it's a little star rating, so you can give things a star rating. So I'm going to drop it here. It automatically picked up that maybe I wanted to center it, which I do. And then let's tie it to the bottom here. I'll give it 24 to give it some space. And then the compute button, I'll tie it underneath here. And we'll do the compute centered also, just again, so I can kind of talk over and over again about how to do that. To center it, I would constrain it to both sides, and it will center it in there. And then let's give it 16, give it some space. So now when I run the program, we get this little star rating. So the idea is that you come up here, we still got to fix this, right? This is letters, not what we want. But the stars, there we go. You'll see it's got this nice little, so what I'm doing is kind of clicking around and dragging my finger on it. And we change the star rating. So the idea is that you would say, well, how good is my service? And then maybe the app decides. So if we said it was, half a star, maybe it's maybe no tip, or maybe it's just terrible service. Whereas maybe it's, 10, 15, 20, and then maybe even 25% tip if they had really, really good service. So let's fix this enter amount. So to fix this, when I select up here, again, I got to be really careful. What am I picking? Am I picking, oh, I want to talk about that actually after I showed it. So this enter amount that goes here and it floats to the top, think of that as this outside piece, the text input layout. That's kind of what controls all that. The text input edit text, this is the control that actually gets the amount entered, the input. So we want this to be numeric only. So one mistake, well, not mistake, but one thing the app will complain about is if I come over here, there is if I can remember it, see if I can find it here, a numeric input. Of course, to do that, I'd have to be able to remember the alphabet. Okay, so there we go, numeric. And I could come here and I could say, yeah, this is going to be a decimal input. But the moment I do that, I'm going to get a warning. And it's going to tell you that this has been deprecated. And I think I talked about deprecated already once. It just means that it's still there, but it's going to go away at some point. There we go. It's deprecated. Use input type. So don't do that. It's still there, and you may wonder, why do they deprecate? Why not just get rid of it? Well, the reason is they have to support old code. Right? There's a lot of programs out there that were written before input type existed that still use this numeric property. So Android, Google's giving you usually years worth of notice, but eventually this goes away. So once something is deprecated, you do want to stop using it. And eventually you'll have to go through in your code and change your old code to stop using it too. But we want to go to input type, so IJK input type, and there's lots of choices here. And this will customize what the keyboard looks like. So it's pretty nice. In our case, we want a number decimal. So I check true, number decimal. And now when we run the app, we can go through, do here. If I do an amount, it comes up, it gives us the keyboard we expect. So maybe it was $65.85. So I think at this point, we clearly have an award-winning user interface that anybody would be proud. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the video because we're not actually getting into code this week. We're just getting into how the UI works. But I think you should have enough by now to really start playing around with this. And this week I'm giving information on Project 2. There is a user interface on Project 2, so I would suggest that after watching these videos, you get started right away on Project 2. Get your UI built. Yeah, you can do all of that work without writing a single line of code. That way, when you get next week's videos and you can start writing code, you'll be ready to go, rather than wait around to the last minute.